Hello and welcome back for another podcast episode of Asida Magazine. My name is Emre Şentürk, host of the show and founder of Asida Magazine. Today, I'm going to talk about religions because a very special month is starting today, which is the holy month of Ramadan. So, let's get started. Today marks the first day of this year's fasting month within the Muslim world. A very special month for all Muslims, because for 1 month it means that from sunrise to sunset, no food, no eating, no drinking is allowed, and this can be a very challenging time, but it is also a very spiritual time for the Muslim world. First of all, I wish all the Muslims in the world a peaceful and very thoughtful time. I hope that this reoccurring journey or experience with oneself is this year also very fruitful to all of you, and bears very interesting insights and great feelings and kind of a community feeling that you have with your family and your friends during this time. Why am I talking about this? Why do I think it is important to touch upon the topic of religion? Is that when we think about the month of Ramadan, it is very interesting that so many people during that time show that kind of discipline and adhere the rules that are laid down in the Holy Quran, and therefore it is very important it once again reminded me of how powerful spiritual thinking, meaning religions, are. And therefore I would like to have a broader talk about what I think religions entail, what they mean, what they can mean, what they cannot mean. And I think this is a very sensitive topic and discussion because we kind of tie many emotions to our religious beliefs, to our religious thinking, regardless of what it is. And oftentimes we tend to become aggressive, sad, and overly emotional when we think about religions. But in classical Asido fashion, I would like to keep this topic very technical. So I think there are some observations that can be made across across all religions, and therefore I would like to discuss them and pick them up. Of course, and once again, you can read also very important insights and many of the things that I'm going to talk about in greater depth in my book, DEVLET. Actually, one of the most important chapters is kind of based on the idea of religions and spirituality. And the reason for that is that we first of all needed a definition in order to kind of understand what religions are. When we think about certain topics, such as religions, we always have to start with the definitional basis, right? And the definitional basis for religions is kind of difficult because it is so emotionally loaded for a lot of people. I don't want to go through all the possible definitions there are for religions, but in my opinion, or according to my analyses, as you know, opinion is not very suitable. Is not a very suitable word in this context. According to my observations and to my analysis, religions are belief systems that kind of display societal rules and the cultural core of societies in a more structured manner. What do I mean by that? I mean, this is not a very textbook definition, of course, because there are a lot of other concepts that need clarification too. First of all, what is a society? And once again, in my book, I also explain the differences between societies, cultures, nations, and so on and so forth. But societies are kind of a group of many different ethnically similar or identical communities that have a more structured understanding and a common sense of belonging. So we can, for example, if we want to stick to the example of Islam, most prominently, where did it emerge? In Arabia. So when we think about Arabs, these are ethnically highly similar people that have a shared common sense and sense of belonging. And the interactions that those societal members among themselves kind of do on a daily basis, the interactional patterns, we call that a culture. And then what is born out of that through this commonality and this common understanding of how to live and the social structures that come with it, religions are born. And this definition is problematic for a lot of people because there are universalist religions that claim to be applicable to all people. And there might be. I mean, there's always the chance to apply a certain thought concept that is laid down either in text or in other forms onto other people, and other people can live according to that. There's no problem in doing that. And I really want to stress that this is not what I mean, that is some kind of exclusiveness. But the way religions emerge fundamentally also define what they are in their core. And that is a very important observation because in the end, how religions are structured, you can always see that they kind of adhere to the cultural core of the society that they were born in. So, for example, in Judaism, this is very prominent. In Buddhism, this is very prominent. The way the characters are looking, how they are behaving, and what kind of social interactions can be found in those texts. It's very characteristic of the cultural core and also the mentality of the culture where it is kind of born and where it originated. And therefore it is very important to define religions as such. And then obviously you'll get a better understanding that even though religions can be applied universally if you want to, because they are originated in some sort of specific societal context, it is also this specific societal context where living according to those rules, to those religious rules, is actually functioning the best, because it is actually designed, or the whole concept, the infrastructure of the spirituality is structured around what this society, in this cultural context, in this geography, is actually doing. I give you a very prominent example. The religion of Islam is based on the Holy Quran. And the Holy Quran is basically the only thing, the only framework and point of reference that Muslims should adhere to. Now you take this book and depending on where you read it and who is reading it, the interpretations are quite different. We can see this in the Arab world. For example, the Shia Islam lived in and practiced in Iran is very different from the Anatolian Islam in Turkey, from the Saudi Arabian Islam lived there, from Moroccan and Tunisian Islam. They're all kind of differences, and there are different schools within Islam as well. There are, for example, as I said, the Shiites and the Sunnis. And among the Sunnis, there are different schools of thought. There are different schools of thought within the Shia Islam. So the interpretation basically differs even within those actually quite culturally similar societies. And now we go one step further, and then we look to Indonesia, the biggest Muslim country in the world, and the Islam lived there is quite different from and what we can observe, for example, in the Arab world or in North Africa. If you're a Christian, you might see an analogy to the Christian divide between Catholics and Protestants. So there are kind of similarities, but this is obviously not so diverse. I mean, there are also obviously the Orthodox Church, but in the end, this is also a matter of interpretation. So basically, this is the first hint that because you have a specific cultural context and a specific geographical context of the originating story and history of this development, of this spiritual idea and how it came to the people, is pretty much based or designed and tailored to that very specific context. You can use it elsewhere, but your interpretation is going to be different. And this is very important because when you understand that, you are able to kind of implement the religion as it is into your own context and apply it to it and make it work. This is some kind of compatibility issue that you will resolve there. You can see throughout history that where religions were taken out of their original context and tried to be applied somewhere else in the very same way, you will always have the problem that it's not compatible there. And when it is not compatible there, societal decline sets in because people are moving away from their cultural core, how they think deeply in their heart, and how they were socialized through their culture basically. And when you apply it one-on-one somewhere else, it's not going to work. So you always have to take the ideas and kind of implement it into your own social and cultural context, obviously. And this leads me to a more structured definition of religions, because religions are kind of seen or need to be seen as certain works and phenomena that were born out of the specific context. It also means that they are kind of cultural constitutions, so to say. Again, a term that I coined in my book, and it has a central role there, basically. So religions are actually display the culture in its depth, and obviously you need to structure it a little bit more, and there need to be some elements that need to be fulfilled in order for a religion to really become a cultural manifesto or cultural constitution. The first one is that those books outline a common history or a common struggle. So you will not see any religion that is kind of manifesting certain rules and behavior and thoughts without talking about a certain history and a certain struggle. They are not in itself reactive because they are proactive most of the time. Most religions are proactive. But nonetheless, they pick up certain structural problems that were encountered at those times, and they respond to them and try to figure out how to overcome those problems, which is a constructive way. But nonetheless, they react to something or respond to something. And the common history with the common struggle, and you can see this very clearly in the Torah, the Jewish work, or the main foundation of Judaism. There you can see it very prominently because there's always a continuous struggle of the Jewish people throughout the book. You can also see it in the story of Buddha, who also kind of had a struggle or an enlightening kind of. There's always this moment in spiritual books where people overcome certain things and they turn something negative into something positive. They kind of survive and they kind of flip it around and turn it into something positive, have a learning moment. Very, very prominent also in Christianity with Jesus overcoming practically the crossing and then be reincarnated and stuff. So there's always this moment of this near death and near collapse, and then once again we made it. And by pointing out these things in religions, or in the religious works, in the cultural constitutions, as I described them, there is this common struggle that keeps the community together and that bounds the community. And there's another episode of struggle, and this again pulls people closer together. And this is very important when we think about religions, or as defining pillars of religions. Then there is the second pillar, and this is that there is always a common prophecy or goal that needs to be achieved. And this is always a common thing. In Islam, this is to reach paradise, for example. And in Islam, the interpersonal relations are very important. So being a good person, being helpful, being supportive, all these kind of things also in the realm of self-development, coming together and helping each other to become better people, is very prominent in Islam. And in order to do that, or we do that in order to ascend to heaven and live in paradise forever. This is the common goal. And therefore, and you can observe this, if you have a mosque somewhere, or no matter where you live, go to the closest mosque and see how people treat you and how they welcome you. And see if you are not living in a highly homogeneous society, but rather heterogeneous society. You can even see it more, because there might be a Chinese, a Russian, a Senegalese, an Argentinian, and a Norwegian Muslim side by side praying, and there's no problem whatsoever. This is a common supportive community, because by supporting each other to come to paradise, everyone gains. So this is the common prophecy, this is the common goal. In Judaism, this is to regain the Holy Land, or how can I say it? The goal of the Jewish people is to come back to the homeland, Israel, and live there in peace and build paradise there, practically. In Christianity, I'm not quite sure, but I believe, or at least it was told to me, that the return of Jesus is the common goal, is basically the prophecy, and so on and so forth. So all the other religions have also some kind of common goal, something that people in this community can look forward to and hope and expect, right? These are very important elements. You can see them in all religions. These three pillars, or these two pillars that I just explained. And then obviously, then there are two other pillars. The third one is also very important. It is the set of values. So each and every religion, and without them, they are not religions, right? Because they need to do it. They set out a certain framework of values that need to be respected. And as I said, in Islam, and many people do not know this, self-realization, self-awareness, and reaching kind of the self-fulfillment or the self-development in order to fulfill yourself is the highest goal on earth. And this needs to be, and this can be achieved by, adhering to all the values that are set out there, such as respect, hard work, being humble, and so on and so forth. In East Asian religions, for example, in China, the Confucianism or the Confucianist school or school of thought, this belief system is very focused on formulating those values and practically giving a recipe on how to behave, how to act, and kind of how to approach life. And these values are kind of very explicitly stated there. This is not the case in all religions, but in every religion you will find those values. Some are more explicit, some are more implicit. For example, if in Christianity, this is very prominent, stories are told in order to kind of use them to explain certain values. And in the Confucianist teachings and Tao Te Ching and works like that, it is very explicitly stated, such as discipline and respect, how they can be achieved and why they are good for you, and why do we adhere to them. This is very important. And then finally, and now again we are kind of coming to the end, or to the beginning, the fourth pillar of cultural constitutions, aka religions, are traditions and customs. Traditions and customs are very, very important because they are kind of the physical translation of all the thoughts of this belief system. These are the materialized forms of thoughts embodying practically what the religion is trying to tell you. So, if Islam is telling you you should live healthy, you should live a healthy life, there are so many different ways to interpret that. But in order to make you live a healthy life, Islam prescribes you to pray 5 times a day. 5 times a day, you'll have 10 minutes, 15 minutes where you do exercise. This helps your mobility. This helps your cardiovascular system. To 99% of the Muslims, this is just a tradition. This is just some sort of a movement, a spiritual, or kind of a spiritual description that you need to do. But what it actually does, it is the translation of what is saying in the book about healthiness translated into your daily life without you knowing, basically. If Islam tells you to be thankful, you can say, okay, I'm thankful. Thank you for everything I have. Thank you for being able to sit here and do this podcast and talk to you and try to explain certain things. Thank you for making me able to write this book. Everything fine. But do you really mean it? How can the book make sure that you respect what is being said there? It says, 1 month a year you should fast. Because then the physical exercise of fasting makes you thankful. And this is the beauty and the importance of customs and traditions. Over the centuries, many customs, many traditions, many kind of behavioral patterns, they become routine. For a lot of people, they just become routine. Not much meaning attached. The book says it, I have to do it. But behind that, there's a very specific translation of the words that are being said that make you sure to exercise those things and translate it into your life. And as I said, these were just very few examples. And therefore, traditions and customs need to be honored. If you truly believe and want to be a good person within that cultural constitution, you should do them. Or otherwise, if you really know what they're meant to do and you embody them, right, then it becomes just an integral part without you actually needing yourself to discipline yourself to do them. So in the end, it is just to make sure that you actually understood what is going on in the book and that you apply it to your daily life. And then again, as I said, we're coming back to the beginning. This is the reason why fasting is so important to Muslims, why it strengthens the community, and why the Muslim world is one of the, yes, we can say that Muslims are one of the few societies that still can truly, independently, and wholeheartedly live their culture. They take great pride in it. They have no problem defending it. And this is a great thing, which I admire, and I'm very proud to belong to. And obviously, this is due to things like those traditions that Muslims generally honor. But as I said, these are just the translations of what the book is saying, or what the ideas behind the book try to tell you. The main things are the common struggle, the common prophecy, the common values. If you know them, if you adhere to them, if you apply them, then you're good to go. Then thumbs up to you. And then you'll also understand that the specifics of certain traditions and customs are not so much important as to understand these three things and apply it to your own social setting. I'm going to make more episodes on the topic of religions. I'm planning on also going into the structural deficiencies of the three Abrahamic religions. A very controversial topic, to be honest, but I'm quite sure that I'm going to do 3 distinct episodes, one on Judaism, one on Christianity, and one of Islam. So I'm going to I'm going to basically criticize all 3 of them. Or not criticize, criticizing is a bit too harsh. I'm going to discuss the structural deficiencies. Plain and simple. It's very neutral, actually. And I'm going to do it obviously on the basis of goodwill. So no hurt feelings there. And today, my definition of religions, I presented to you right now. I hope you liked it. And if you have any topic suggestions, obviously, please drop a comment, write me an email, or find another way to reach out to me, social media accounts, whatever. Aceto Magazine on Twitter and Instagram. So, thank you very much for listening, and to all Muslims out there, have a happy, thoughtful, and peaceful month of Ramadan. So, take care and goodbye.